Welcome back again. This is going to be my weekly build update. I actually made a whole bunch of changes just today and throughout the week, but a lot of it was off stream just because I was sick over the past few days and I didn't want to be sneezing on stream all day, but they're not, huge changes. The biggest change is really done today. Let's start off with the weapon though. This is probably the luckiest double corrupt I've gotten to date. It's not the perfect ideal double corrupt that you would want. Ideally, you would want the blood magic along with Fortify, but nonetheless, it's still a 9-link weapon at this point. So what we did was we dropped Fortify, which Fortify is something I want to get into a little bit later about this build that I've thought about over the last week. But either way, we dropped the Fortify gem because obviously it's now an implicit and we're running Ruthless instead. The reason we run Ruthless over anything else is A, it's the highest DPS gem that we could actually add to the 6-link or the 9-link. And also, it only has a 110% mana multiplier. So when you're looking at 9 links on a weapon, suddenly Flicker Strike typically costs like 78 if you're on a 6-link, or sorry, on a 7-link. But now we're looking at close to 122 mana costs. So it took actually a lot of min-maxing in order to get to the point where I can be running a 9-link and sustain mana. And even now, I'm probably going to have to make some changes for that to be better. Now, to touch on Fortify a bit, I have made a ton of changes on Fortify. In a previous video, I mentioned that Fortify was kind of optional if you're running a 5-link. But at this point, I've come to the conclusion that Fortify is absolutely necessary, whether you're mapping, bossing, or anything else, just because the damage reduction it gives you is so massive. And not only that, but what we're going to be doing is stacking Fortify effect. So from the tree, you're actually increasing the effect of Fortify by about 15%, I believe. And that just means you're mitigating 35% of the damage that you would potentially take. And that's after considering all of your defenses. Furthermore, Fortify just straight up gives you damage and it's almost equivalent to melee fizz. So there's no point in there's no point in not taking Fortify over melee physical damage or brutality in that case. To move on, that's basically what's changed with my Kitavas. Unfortunately, I did have to burn through a few Kitavas feasts. I got some unlucky ones where the item bricked, some of them deleted. I had one good one uncropped, which I'm gonna sell again. And then I got one with extra physical damage. This one's close to 600 PDPS as opposed to like 530, which this one is. But that small amount of physical damage isn't worth not taking a 9-link. And then I just got one that has 6 white sockets, so nothing special there. But otherwise, that was a good part of the morning. Now the ring, nothing's really changed there. Still running the same unset ring. This is probably going to be taken care of after I finish crafting a new helmet, which I do plan on putting Fortify effect on. Feral's Fur, still the same. The other ring that I'm running now is going to be a Circle of Guilt. So this ring is actually pretty important. It's going to give you a ton of physical damage, a ton of armor to ensure that you're always above that 90% physical damage reduction cap. And it's going to reduce the amount of mana reserved by your Herald of Purity, which goes in part with making sure I have enough mana to sustain this 9-link. But otherwise, it just flat out a great ring. It gives you attributes that you definitely need. And then other huge update was my amulet. So my previous amulet was pretty bad. I might still have it here. Yeah, so it just had crit multi as the one offensive thing, and then otherwise it's just HP and resistances. So I don't need the those larger resistances on here anymore. So I'm running with this. So it's still a work in progress. I'm gonna have to remove add crit for a higher tier crit multi. Same thing for the physical to attacks. But the important part is the Pride has 30% reduced mana reservation. So also goes hand in hand with me being able to sustain the 9 link. Otherwise, it has a good amount more HP, which is always good. Last time I was running a different unique belt. I'm using a Headhunter now. Obviously, Headhunter is just fun, and it's actually, I would say, arguably required if you're going to attempt to run 100% Delirium, juiced maps, fractured maps, things like that. And then for my Hands of the High Templar, I got a +3, and I'm running my duration gems, so that's going to be my Grace, my Haste, Berserk, and Enduring Cry. They all get +3. And then also curse enemies with vulnerability on hit with 48% increased effect. But anyways, that actually adds a fair amount of DPS just on its own. Now, as far as how attainable these gloves are, right now, date is 1/29, so January 29. These were for about 25 exalts to 30 from what I was seeing. I did end up crafting these myself and got super lucky yet again. I only went through 3 of them before they actually got to this. But otherwise, that's one more thing actually. We're running a Bottled Faith, and we got rid of the Diamond Flask. So we're actually picking up quite a bit of damage from this. It's adding to our base crit, which means we're getting closer to the point where we're at 100% critical strike chance without needing a Diamond Flask. And because we no longer have one of those magic item flasks, we have to drop one of them, and we're gonna stick with having a warding flask for any curses, and then also for staunching for any bleed. We're gonna still keep the mana flask as Iron Skin because obviously more armor, you're keeping that physical damage reduction up. And then we're gonna craft Cannot Be Frozen onto the boots. This is a fairly expensive craft though. Right now, if you go on TFT, people are selling it for 1x. It's unfortunate. This is a somewhat rare craft. I've unveiled probably like 40 pairs of boots at this point, and I still don't have that craft, which kind of sucks, but not much you can do. But anyways, this allows us to not have to run a Flask of Heat and, run the Bottled Faith, because overall this is going to be better in the long term. Otherwise, as I showed you earlier, we're now running these Fortify effect nodes. I was running this. I wasn't running this last time. I'd highly recommend it, especially if you're having issues with, any sort of sustainability. The big change I made to the tree is previously I actually didn't have any cluster jewels, which now I do. Or actually, I might have had one and it wasn't even being really utilized. So now I'm running the martial prowess and run through on both of these. So I've chosen to take out points from the impale node here. I can still keep these 3. And I believe that's the only other impale. So I have these 2 impale nodes. I'm running a triple crit multi-jewel. Oh, sorry, this is a double. This one's also a double. This one's a double. And then this one's a double, but all of them have increased maximum life and 2 crit multi nodes, modifiers. And then these are going to be my triple crit multi with life. So again, I don't have to take nodes here to make up for the life. I'm getting them in my jewels. And they're also giving me a fair amount of crit multi each. So that's pretty awesome. And if you're wondering about my impale chance, I'm at 100% chance to impale while I'm sitting in my hideout. So I'm not putting down any banners or anything like that in order to get the impale chance. So just to take a look at the future and what I plan to do. Right now I am in the process of crafting a new helmet. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any bases at least with the increased flicker strike damage, but that is not a hugely important thing to worry about. The biggest things is +1 power charges, increased Fortify effect, and then nearby enemies take 9% increased physical damage. So this is huge. It's going to add a crap ton of DPS to your build. And otherwise, from there, we're going to work on the ring gear. So the ring, we're going to want level 12 Assassin's Mark, higher tier life, whatever resistance I'm going to need, just based off of what I end up crafting with my helmet. But otherwise, right now, my gem links are 100% done. I'm running all the alternate quality gems that I plan to, and all the awakened gems that I plan to. So I'm running awakened melee physical damage, awakened multi-strike, close combat. This one I'm probably just going to buy a 21-23 eventually. Impale support, same thing. It's already a level 21. I'm not going to bother getting a 23% quality because it makes a 1% difference for impale effect. And Ruthless support, this is a 21-23, and Flicker Strike 21-23. So I'm not going to change anything about the 6-link unless I change my weapon completely. Same thing for these. You're going to want Divergent Pride for the nearby enemies have -2% physical damage reduction. Divergent Precision. An anomalous enlightened support, which is actually huge. The intelligence requirement on this is only 38 intelligence, which means I don't need to worry about taking this node or, make sure I'm pathing and taking a few intelligence nodes. It saves me points on my tree. Otherwise, that's basically about it. I just have to, go around getting lab enchants for my helmet, my new one, and my boots here. So to take a look at my POB, I'm going to import this. I'll show you how I configure it and how you should configure yours. Just make sure you don't, obviously put in anything that you don't have, just to ensure that you know exactly what your build is looking like. Since you're running Feral's Fur, Aspect of the Cat, you're always going to have maximum frenzy and power charges, so it's okay to put those up there. I'm running Fortify, which I should always have it if I'm fighting an enemy. I no longer have Onslaught, so I used to have that on my boots. I no longer have it. The way I'm going to fix that is if I'm able to get a Circle of Guilt that grants me Onslaught on hit, which are fairly expensive rings. They typically run like around 100 exalts, but I'm nowhere near the point at the moment, and it's really not that important, which I'll show you a little bit. We still have Tailwind and Elusive. I'm typically sitting at maximum rage if I'm doing a simulacrum, or especially 100% delirium. I'm going to save my Berserk unless I absolutely need it. So I'm going to keep the rage there. Oh, we gotta set this to Flicker Strike. I am running Alira. I'm running Lunaris and Shikari. Alright, and then melee distance to enemy. This is important. If you're running close combat and you don't set this to 0 or 1 for your Flicker Strike, you're losing out on all the damage bonus you'd get from close combat. So that literally just added 10 million DPS by itself. Enemies on consecrated ground, because we're running a bottled faith. Enemies are intimidated. So I no longer have the belt that's granting me that, but if you look at awakened melee physical damage, is you have a 10% chance to intimidate enemies for 4 seconds on hit. So if they're not getting one shot, they're probably going to get intimidated because I'm attacking 14.13 times per second. But anyways, that's it for the configuration on this. For the Pride Aura effect, I set it to maximum. And then you can also set that to Cat's Stealth or Cat's Agility, doesn't really matter. And have you crit recently? I mean, yes, most likely I have. And then have you been hit recently? I'm just going to set that to yes because typically we are getting hit. But otherwise, we just simply have to activate our flasks, which we're always setting them on. And I believe that's it. Endurance charges, I typically don't like to activate these just because they're fairly inconsistent. A lot of times you can, because if you set it to the way I have it, where it's on your movement button, if there are no monsters near you, you're not going to get any endurance charges. Unfortunately, they changed that after Harvest, which was so convenient from before. Now, here's the big thing. Onslaught adds a fair amount, but not that much as far as damage goes. Oh, I was saying something was off with the DPS. So, there. Now we have everything activated. We're at just above 90 million combined DPS. That's your Impale, Bleed, everything else. So the only time you'll see damage this high is if you're fighting, a top tier boss while you have all of your Val skills up, while you have Berserk up. So take that number with a grain of salt. It's just that this build is capable of going up to that amount. Also, if you guys wanted to see what it looks like for Cyrus, it's barely any lower in the grand scheme of things, really. But yeah, having level 12 Assassin's Mark is definitely going to help bring that damage up when it comes to Cyrus DPS, things like that. But otherwise, that's basically about it. Be sure to leave a comment if you have any questions, and come to visit my stream if you wanted to ask me something live. Talk to you guys later.